Hey there, and welcome to my channel. I'm Kathleen, and as a transition strategist, I help women, primarily high-performing Black women, navigate life and career transitions without unnecessary chaos by deepening self-trust and realigning you with your values. And staying motivated during hard times or uncertain can be really challenging. It's not always about pushing through and looking on the bright side of things, especially when you're in the thick of a transition, when you're in the middle of it, and you might start to wonder if things will ever feel normal again. Will things ever feel right? Will you ever feel normal or okay? And I know that feeling all too well. Let's be real. Change is hard. Transitions can be challenging, and it can be really difficult to stay motivated during transitions, during hard times when life is lifing. And if you're someone who has a big vision for your life or you're goal oriented, you've probably learned to just keep pushing through, keep your eyes on the prize. But believe it or not, during tough times, there are moments where even I wonder if things will always be this way. Or, I'll say out loud, is this just how it is now? Am I just supposed to accept that this is what it is? And I've experienced 4 periods of unemployment within a 5-year period. And, there were times when I thought I would never work again. And maybe you can relate to that. Maybe you're currently looking for a new job and you're doing everything that you've been told to do. You've updated your resume. Maybe you've even hired someone who can help you enhance your resume or optimize your LinkedIn. And you're doing what you need to do to try to get around the ATS, the applicant tracking system software, right? You're trying to get to a real human. You're reaching out to your network. You're letting people know that these are the roles you're looking for. These are your skills. This is your next ideal role, et cetera, et cetera. But you're still getting those automated messages that they've gone with another candidate or, thank you for your interest, or it doesn't even seem like anyone's reviewing your resume. And, that can absolutely impact your motivation. And obviously, that's just one example. The same can be said if you've been looking for a new place to live and maybe it's been hard to find your dream home, or it's just taking much longer than you thought and you're starting to wonder if you'll ever find that place, right? Or maybe you've decided that you're going to go back to school and maybe you're wondering how are you going to shift from, being out of school, if you've been out of school for a while, how are you going to shift back into school mode, right? And so in this video, I'm going to share some tips to help you stay motivated during hard times. And these are some things that I've tried, that I've done, and I think they might be able to help you too. Now, I'm not the type to tell you to just look on the bright side or just think positive, but I'm also not going to let you, kind of feel bad for yourself because the reality all the time, first thing or not, change is a part of life. Take home or and I'll go deeper into how to know if you might need a life or career change. Just think positive. I don't really subscribe to toxic positivity or, like I don't want to say false positives, but for lack of a word, false positive platitudes and phrases. But really, I'm not. The reason why I able to just think all the time is because I think it can, I think it's important to feel your feelings, to acknowledge them, to process what you're feeling. And that doesn't mean to stay in your feelings or use your feelings as an excuse or act out because of your feelings. It just means that sometimes there's not really a bright side to look at. There's not really a positive think think your way out of certain situations. Sometimes we go through experiences that are not fair, right? Can you think of a time where you've experienced something where it was unfair, it was an injustice? And, I think it's important to acknowledge the feelings that come with that, right? When you're treated unfairly, let's say in the workplace, if you've been treated unfairly or mistreated, it's okay to say, that was unfair. I didn't deserve that. I feel angry. I feel sad. I feel all those things. I think it's important to say that because sometimes when we go through something unfair that, maybe we tried to prevent or we didn't see coming, we have to acknowledge what we're really feeling in that. And, let's talk about grief for a moment. Now, if grief is a sensitive topic for you, go ahead, skip to the next section. But I do think it's important to talk about grief because I think grief in general is something that we don't really talk about. I think when someone is grieving, and that could be the loss of someone or the loss of something, grief is grief, right? I think a lot of times we might have good intentions of wanting someone to like quote unquote feel better. But the reality is that sometimes when you're grieving something, there's nothing that you can do. I know for me that when after my father passed away and I was at work and one day it just was a rough day because that's what happens when you're grieving. Some days are better than others. And I was telling a coworker, I was like, today is it's just kind of challenging. I don't know, it's just one of those days. And she was like, oh man, just try to keep your head up. And I think she meant well. I think she had good intentions, but sometimes when you're in the thick of grief, it can be hard to keep your head up, right? And I think it's important to just acknowledge what we're feeling and how sometimes there's no need to fix our feelings. The only fix is to feel them. And the reality is that, again, sometimes when we're grieving the loss of something, there's really nothing anyone can say or do to make you feel better. So I don't think you can positive think your way through hard times, through uncertain times, through seasons of transition. But I do think that there are some things that you can do to stay motivated during those hard times. First, I think showing gratitude is powerful and effective, and it helps you focus on things that really matter and that keep you sustained and anchored. I think you can show gratitude for the present moment. You can show gratitude for the good things that are on its way to you. You can even show gratitude for what the past taught you and that you're not, doing the same things that you would have done in the past or you're reacting differently than you would have in the past. And I think showing gratitude for the present moment, it's also showing gratitude for opportunities that will come from it, gratitude for lessons that come from it. And by being grateful and showing gratitude, that doesn't mean that you ignore your feelings. It just means that you're staying rooted and you're giving yourself permission to feel while also being grateful for what you have. And I think as an example, if you've been in an experience or if you're currently in an experience where you're being mistreated in the workplace as an example, or, if your previous role you were being mistreated or treated unfairly, I think it's important to call that out, to say, I was mistreated or that was unfair what I experienced, and also show gratitude that you're no longer in that situation. Or if you are still in that situation, show gratitude for what's going to get you out of that. Because there is an opportunity that is going to move you into, alignment where you're treated fairly, you're valued, all the things. I think it's important to, again, feel your feelings, which you may have noticed that I'm going to talk about feelings a lot in this video and future videos. So I just think it's really important to feel our feelings and not dismiss them. Um, and I also think another thing you can do to stay motivated is to give yourself permission to be unmotivated, but within a time box. And that might sound counterproductive or counterintuitive because the whole point of this is to give you tips on how to stay motivated. But I think it's important to take some of the pressure off. I think some when we're not motivated, we think, okay, I just need to do XYZ. If I want this thing, I have to, and it creates pressure that we put on ourselves. Or we end up setting expectations of ourselves that maybe we can't meet or that we're not going to meet. And that's okay. I think putting a time limit on being unmotivated helps take that pressure off. And I think, again, it ties into feelings because usually when we're not motivated, there's an underlying feeling or feelings that, is at the root of that. So, for example, maybe you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed by everything going on in your world and nationally and globally. Or maybe you feel disappointed that something didn't go the way that you wanted, or disappointed that you're still in a situation that you thought you would have been out of by now. Maybe you feel tired because you've been making an effort and you're not seeing results yet. Or maybe starting to feel kind of apathetic or detached because, again, this past disappointment, or you're tired, or just it just feels like no matter what you do, it just never goes the way that you want. And all of those feelings are valid and they can cause us to be unmotivated. And we should feel those feelings, but put a time limit on it. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, take a 20-minute break. Take a nap. I love taking a good 20-minute nap. Give yourself time to think about something else. On social media, I'll see people say like the news is too much sometimes. There's so much news. And there is. Maybe that means turn off the news. Maybe it means disconnect. And I know there's a very thin balance between wanting to stay informed, but wanting to also protect yourself and your mental health. Take a break from it. Or, if social media is making you feel away, take a break from it. Put a timer on it. Actually honor the boundary. If you set a time limit, boundary, when the message comes up to say you're at your limit, don't dismiss it. Um, if you're feeling disappointed because, like I said, you thought that you'd have answers by now, or you didn't think you'd be in this situation, that's very real and valid. Give yourself the weekend or a week if you can to just take some of the pressure off, to really feel what you're feeling, to grieve what you thought you would have by now, or to grieve what you've lost. Or, if you're starting to feel tired, or you're growing weary, that might be an indication that you need more rest. So go rest. Rest is a requirement, it's not a reward. So make sure you factor in more time to rest. Your body is telling you, we are tired, we need a break. And while, again, I think it's important to feel our feelings, I think it's also important to know yourself well enough to know if whatever feeling that's causing you to be unmotivated, if that's going on for an extended period of time, that might be a signal to talk to a therapist or licensed mental health professional, which, as a disclaimer, I'm not a licensed mental health professional, but I absolutely believe in going to therapy. I've been in therapy, in and out of therapy for years. I think it's a really great way to, you know, uncover the tools that you already have within you to navigate just life and all the ups and downs. So, again, you are the expert of you. So if you've been feeling, some type of way for a while, that might be a signal to talk to someone who can help you unpack that. But honestly, it is hard to stay motivated all the time. It's not realistic to be motivated all the time. So don't force yourself to be motivated all the time. Give yourself time to take some of that pressure off and be unmotivated for a little while. And then another thing that I think helps in being motivated when times are hard, uncertain, difficult is to turn to discipline. And I think discipline picks up where mission ends, or motivation, I don't want to say fails, but where motivation fades, because motivation will fade, and that's where discipline picks up. Now, for me, I don't think discipline is about, like, you've probably heard like 75 hard. I haven't done 75 hard before because I'm not. If you've done it, shouts out to you because it is very hard. I think why I don't think discipline is necessarily about like just go, 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 go is because it's not about just pushing through no matter what. It's about staying connected to what's real and true for you, even when you don't necessarily feel like it. It's about honoring yourself, staying devoted to yourself and the things that you want for yourself, right? So, as an example, for me, discipline looks like honoring commitments that I've made to myself, such as if I've said I want to go to sleep early, I want more quality sleep, I need to go to sleep early. Discipline means putting my phone down by 9 p.m., giving my body time to switch from being on, being connected to, okay, it's time for bed. We're going to bed. We're going to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Discipline also for me looks like just taking the next step and the next step. Actually, not the next step, taking the next step and then doing it again. Sometimes I think we think once we take that first step, then we take the second step, or sometimes it's take that first step and then take that first step again and then do it again and then do it again and keep doing it and then go on to the next step. So for me, discipline means keep repeating that first step until it's time for the second step. Also, for me, discipline looks like creating a rhythm instead of burning myself out, running myself into the ground, honoring a rhythm. So for me, that might mean, you know, on Tuesdays is when I write my blog posts. That's also another thing with discipline. There are times where I would rather like watch TV or scroll through social media or do anything else other than write, but the blog's not going to write itself. And I actually enjoy writing. So discipline means writing when maybe I want to do something else because I made that commitment to myself to write my blogs. Um, so those are for me, those are what some examples of discipline looks like. It's less about doing the most. And that's why with 75 hard, I kind of feel like it's doing the most. And with 75 hard, if you miss a day, you have to start back at one. Whereas for me, I feel like let's say I give myself let's say I give myself 75 days to be more disciplined. If I miss a day, I don't need to start back at one. It just means like, okay, make note of that and try again tomorrow. I don't think it erases everything that you've already done. And that this is just me personally. This is how I feel about 75 hard. If you've done it, again, shouts out to you because 75 is really hard. But going back to discipline, for me, again, honoring commitments I make to myself, it's what keeps me going. And sometimes keeping those commitments to myself, I do it when I'm not even motivated. But like I said, it keeps me going. It keeps me focused. Sometimes discipline might look like focusing on one thing instead of trying to multitask. There are 20 tabs open on my screen right now, and I'm focused on one thing. And sometimes it takes discipline for me to do that because my mind is thinking about 8 different things all at once. But yeah, I think with discipline, it's about moving with intention instead of with urgency. That sometimes when we are motivated, sometimes there's an urgency that we feel we have to keep or we're going to lose that momentum. But with discipline, you're moving with intention and focusing on one thing that you keep doing as a repeated action. And that's the kind of discipline that lasts when motivation fades. So now that I've given you some tips of how to stay motivated during hard times, especially when you're tired or frustrated or just not feeling like your usual self, here are some ways that you can actually put these things into practice. And I want to emphasize that it does take practice. So, try some things, see what works for you, see how you feel, give yourself permission to change things up. So, first thing, practice giving gratitude. Maybe start with pausing, and you can even do this right now. Pause and name one thing that you're grateful for. Practice doing that every day for a week. And then you can build on that. Maybe in a couple of weeks, you'll start listing 3 things that you're grateful for. And you can either say them out loud, you can write them down, whatever works for you. Start calling out and listing things that you're grateful for and see how that makes you feel. See if that shifts anything for you. Practice that. Another thing that you can do to put in practice is to put a time box around your feelings. Give yourself time to feel them. So if you're not motivated, if you haven't been motivated for a while, ask yourself what's what might you be feeling? And if you let me tell you, years ago I didn't know how to name feelings. So she gave me a feelings wheel. You can look one up online. It will help you list and name feelings for when you're feeling some type of way, but don't know exactly what to call that feeling. But when you ask yourself what's underneath the, lack of motivation that you're experiencing, what feeling is that? And then give yourself time to feel that feeling. Give yourself permission to feel it without judgment. And that could look like, taking a 20-minute walk if you're overwhelmed. I think I said that in the previous section. Or that can like disconnecting for the evening if you're overstimulated. Disconnect from your phone, put your phone on do not disturb, tell everyone you're not available. Or it can look like using your PTO and taking time to reset, to, you know, just do something outside of your normal routine. And, in feeling your feelings, that doesn't mean that you're off track, by putting a timer on it, like you're going to feel your feelings or nurture your feelings for a week. That doesn't mean you're, behind. It means that you're in tune with yourself and what you need, and you're paying attention to what your body is asking of you. And then another thing to put into practice is to build discipline. Pick one thing that you will stay committed to being consistent with, even if it's small. One thing that you can, do over and over again, repeatedly, to build that discipline muscle. Because discipline is a muscle and it works the more that you work at it. So, maybe if your goal is to create a morning routine, and during your morning routine, you want to be able to journal for 20 minutes. Start with 5 minutes. Start with every day for a week, journal for 5 minutes in the morning. Or if you want to wake up earlier, start by going to bed 30 minutes earlier every night for a week. And then the next week, build on that and keep building until you naturally go to bed at the time that you want in order to wake up early enough. So pick one thing. It can be simple, something doable for you, something attainable, something easy. And just start there and, allow yourself to, you don't have to get it right the first time. Let's say you want to go to bed a half hour earlier every night for a week, and maybe at the end of the week you only did for four days. That's fine. Try again next week. Just take some of that pressure off of yourself, but give yourself an opportunity to build that discipline muscle. Now, before you move on with your day, I want you to take a minute and check in with yourself. What season are you in? Are you trying to just think positive through a difficult season? Are you just trying to power your way through without giving yourself permission to feel your feelings or to actually be in it? And you don't have to rush through it or, jump steps to get to the other side. It's really about reconnecting with yourself, what matters to you, and also being honest about what you might actually need. If you actually need a break, if you actually need rest, do what you need to do to have that. And it's not about just being productive to just get through, the hard times or the difficult times. Because obviously it doesn't feel good to be in a challenging season. But just remember that everything is temporary. Everything is seasonal. And maybe doing one small thing for yourself reminds you of who you are, and where you're going, even when things feel uncertain. That's forward motion. That's taking intentional action towards where you're going. And if this video spoke to you or resonated with you, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what one thing you might practice this week. And if you're also navigating a life or career transition, or if you're just feeling kind of off and you're not sure what's next, I created a free resource, a transition guide, and it helps you reconnect with your values and connect with what your next step forward could be with more clarity. And the link is below in the description. So make sure you also subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any new videos when they go up. And if you think this might be helpful for someone, definitely share this video with them. Now, one last thing, you're not lazy. Even if you feel lazy for not being motivated, you're not lazy and you're not falling behind. You're human, living a human experience, going through a transition or a challenging time, an uncertain time. And That is part of life. And you don't have to wait to take care of yourself. You don't have to wait until things get better to do some of the things that you want to do for yourself. You can honor your energy now, and future you will thank you for it. And remember that this season won't last forever, but how you care for yourself in this season will carry you through to the next one and the next one and the next one. Take what you need and leave the rest. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.